So it's been an interesting day, kind of touching on a wide variety of topics related to the bigger theme of purpose. And one of the things that we haven't really touched on yet is the notion of sustainability within the context of business, particularly as we move more into an e-commerce or direct-to-commerce kind of marketplace, and then just broadly how sort of environmental values come to life within the context of the brand. So to help kind of dive deep into some of these subjects, I have the pleasure of inviting Ben Branson, the founder and CEO of Seedlip, and Tom Harfleet, his colleague, who is the head of nature at Seedlip as well. Guys, thanks so much for joining us at Retail Innovation Week.
Thanks for having us, Scott.
Excellent. So, as a little, I'll give you an opportunity to, sort of intro the brand for those who might not be familiar, but I'll just kind of start off with a question and hopefully that will kind of lead in. So you are a non-alcoholic spirits brand, and Tom is the head of nature at the company. So maybe in introing your brand, you can also talk about why you created the head of nature role.
So Seedlip is the world's first distilled non-alcoholic spirits brand. We call ourselves a nature company that makes drinks. Nature is very close to my heart. It's part of my upbringing. My family have been farming for over 300 years in the north of England. So I love the natural world, and I grew up kind of around nature and value it a lot. And that's why we use a wonderful selection of real ingredients that we source from different farmers around the world to try and create delicious, grown-up, sophisticated non-alcoholic drinks. And given nature is so important to our drinks, our culture, our team, how we recruit, etc. 3 years ago, it felt like there was an opportunity to really lead that within the drink space, and create a role for Tom, who I'd already met and come across because he's an award-winning garden designer and was running the world's most prestigious garden design show and presented me with a gold medal for the garden that we designed as Seedlip. So started a set of kind of discussions around joining Seedlip as a head of nature.
And Tom, how do people respond when you tell them what your job title is?
It's always different, and it takes a lot of getting used to, because it's always sort of intrigue and enthusiasm, which is always very difficult, because then people go, well, what do you do? Like, as head of nature, everyone wants to know, what do you do? And to be honest, as Ben mentioned, I've been at Seedlip now for just over 3 years, so an old timer. And I still haven't actually got it down. When someone goes, Tom, what do you do as head of nature? I'm still like, oh, I do lots of things. But I still can't, I can't succinctly say, right, this is what I do. I think I got close to it by going, as head of nature at Seedlip, I educate, agitate, and inspire the business to act with nature, with nature's best interests. That's probably the closest I've got it down to. But it's always, people just, I don't know, maybe it's because there's not many people. Like, how many other head of natures have you ever spoken to?
Well, I think you would be the first, but who knows? You guys could be starting a movement from today moving forward. So that would be exciting indeed.
And it's more than, I think probably typically many organizations now, thankfully, and it's brilliant, have, heads of sustainability, for example. And we kind of, I think we wanted to take it beyond that, or try to see it as far more 360 than it just being a siloed, all right, I'm just looking at the sustainability side of the business. And actually, Tom involves himself in most departments and most people's work and most discussions across our global teams, which I think is how it should be. That it's nature's considered for us at the beginning of a project, through the project, at the end of the project, and yeah, having Tom lead that is really important.
I think it's really interesting how you sort of position that, Ben, because I was having a conversation earlier today about the role that sort of like inclusivity and diversity plays within the context of an organization, and the sort of through line is that, if you're creating this and it's sort of the mission of your organization, then it has to sort of cross over in all of these different kind of aspects of the business, and it can't just be a sort of singular kind of focus, but it needs to have that ability to kind of touch and influence. And I love the term agitate as well, Tom. It's like a great way of kind of thinking about things as well. It's like pushing to continually sort of improve, which is great. And I know, Ben, you talked about the farming being a part of your family history, and it's obviously quite foundational to the brand. How has that influence the way that you are thinking about your ingredient sourcing, and obviously, kind of creating a new category in many ways? The ingredients are so important to what you guys are building.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started distilling herbs in my kitchen, back in 2013, 7 years ago, and more out of fascination of what I could grow in my garden, and this kind of crazy distillation process that I was an incredible amateur at, but was sort of just intrigued by the alchemy of it, with no idea about making a drink, and no idea about making cocktails or anything to do with that. Just wanting to work with flavor and ingredients and nature, I guess. And then you kind of, you take that idea of working, as closely as possible with the ingredients and with nature, and then an application that, fruity sweet mocktails and lime and soda are not great options if you're not drinking alcohol. How could you create more delicious, sophisticated, complex flavor profiles by extracting the wonderful kind of diverse flavors from nature, to make something that's really, really grown up? Well, great. There's a really great application for working with things that I'm passionate about and that I wanted to learn about. So the sourcing piece is really, really important. And, we only work with real ingredients that are grown, and because we believe that makes better non-alcoholic spirits and creates a better base for creating a really good non-alcoholic cocktail. Nature's not in the greatest state, let's be honest, given man's pretty terrible relationship with it over the last 100 years or so. So, we're pretty aware that if there's no nature, there's no Seedlip, and that it means there's no business for us, and that for us in our jobs would be a real shame. And so then we can't give people decent non-alcoholic options if they're not drinking. So, we're not trying to save the world, but we're trying to do our bit, and we're trying to do our best. And that means working with great ingredients. It means committing to some of the initiatives and the announcements that are happening for us over the next few weeks around our environmental stance and our kind of explicit, kind of vocal side of what we care about, love, and believe in around the natural world. So it starts with our ingredients. That's really, really important to us.
Amazing. And I know we'll kind of touch on some of the big things that are happening as we get deeper into the conversation. But for right now, I want to sort of shift back. Tom, obviously, you know, where I live in Brooklyn right now, it's as people do more of their shopping online and are getting packages sent and then swiftly putting out the cardboard onto their their stoops in the street. It's hard to sort of ignore everything that's kind of like piling up literally. And you guys as a brand obviously are reliant upon packaging to get your product in the hands of consumers. And I know you are working right now on creating more sustainable packing materials. Can you talk a little bit about what's been going on and some of the solutions that you're finding right now?
Yeah, so one of the projects was actually, it was conceived this time last year, the big one, and was launched 3 months ago, Ben? Yeah, it was 3 months ago, which is our mycelium gift box, which we're growing instead of making. So it's actually a mycelium mushroom-based solution, which is pretty fascinating. It's a fire retardant, temperature regulating, aquaphobic, so waterproof material, which takes 8 days to form and is actually using an agricultural waste material bound together by the root system of mushrooms in a then it goes through a kiln. That creates this incredibly versatile product, which then, after it's been put outside, would biodegrade or biocontribute, because it actually improves the quality of the soil where it ends up, in 40 days. So it's completely shifting that mindset of creating packaging or a luxury gift box, which has an unfortunate, an unpleasant legacy to it. Once you've used your bottle, you then have this piece of plastic, this polystyrene sleeve. We've actually created something that completely disappears and can be removed from your environmental conscience because it's disappeared back into the soil and actually contributed.
I just think it's really fucking cool that we grow our gift boxes. You know, we grow our packaging and it takes 8 days, and it takes polystyrene 1,000 years to decompose. And, you know, the kind of this material, which we want everybody using, right? Everybody should be looking at this kind of substrate for their packaging solutions, because this doesn't just have to be gift packaging. You know, you can I've got a lampshade in my kitchen made out of this stuff. You can make shoes, you can make, it kind of mycelium everybody needs to look into, and there's manufacturers in the US, and we work with a brilliant company called Magical Mushroom Company in the UK, and you know, it should just be on everybody's radar, and that will bring the cost down, and the more people use it, the better, because mushrooms are nature's best recyclers, and we need to look to nature more for these kind of solutions.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I love the notion of being able to say you grow your packaging. And I would imagine within the context of that, is there the ability to, like, is this solution like customized specifically for your bottle so that it's sort of like fitting exactly? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's a vacuum pack mold. It's a vacuum form mold. So you could literally do whatever your product is, you could vacuum form it and create a sleeve around it made of mycelium.
And as you looked into sort of alternatives, I mean, are there a lot of things out on the marketplace, or is this the one that just makes kind of the most sense? Like, what's your sense of like kind of what's out there?
I think mycelium's been bubbling for quite a long time. I think I first came across it probably 2017, probably slightly earlier. And it's taken till now for us to find a partner that could actually deliver on scale in the UK. But to Ben's point, we need more people to get on board to bring the cost down. Like, mycelium isn't sexy, and it shouldn't be sexy. It should be everywhere. Like, we should be almost like not complaining about cardboard and going, or mycelium shouldn't be that thing that you're seeing and calling out. It should just be normal. But apart from that, I think the other thing that we've started looking at is an innovation that's come out of the southwest of the UK, Flexi Hex, which is a another form of sleeve, which is actually removing the bulk of cardboard and is completely recyclable. And I think a lot of the content is recycled. So there are further innovations. Like our old boxes used to be like a normal cardboard box with, if we ship 2 bottles, there'd be just a sleeve divider in between. These flexi hex, not only are you saving on wastage, but you're saving on material in the first place. So there are lots of things where, yes, you can innovate with a whole new solution like mycelium, but how far can you push the envelope on something like cardboard? And I think by looking at both of those solutions together, that will help, or that helped us get to where we've got to now with our packaging.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it's incredible because there is, to your point, like it's just like rethinking what is, traditionally been the square box, which, doesn't work equally well for every solution, just in and of itself is a huge leap. And then you start to think about, these new formats or new materials, and then it sort of takes you into, really interesting places. I know you guys are in the process of, being certified as a B Corp. And, obviously I know somewhat about what that means, but I would love for you guys to help, me and the audience understand, like, what is the, like, practically speaking, like, what does that involve? And, also, why is this a decision that you've made as an organization?
Ben, do you want to start or shall I start?
You go, Tom.
Okay.
You're front line on this.
Yeah. So I'll start with the second part first. So why I think it's important as an organization. As a consumer-facing organization or brand, I think there's a lot of organizations out there that have got their sustainability policy. They have their environmental commitments, their environmental goals, their community initiatives, and they're all self-published and they're all self-governed. And actually, in the age we're moving towards, third-party certification holds your brand higher. And that third-party certification gives credibility to the claims you are making. And that's why organizations such as B Corp are gaining such momentum. That's how I feel anyway. Ben?
Yeah, no, I agree. We kicked this project off a while ago, and it's Tom can explain it in a bit more detail, but I think for our consumers and our audience and our customers and our team, this is an accreditation that basically says we're doing the right thing. And shortcutting that for people without giving them, war and peace on, our policy on plastic straws, for example, and them having to wade through lots of information. The B Corp accreditation does that hard work for you and rubber stamps you to kind of go, this is a good business. This is morally, ethically, and kind of environmentally sound.
And then the actual process.
Tom's been leading this process, so
yeah, and the process is quite tough. Like, it's not a walk in the park. Like, you've got to, I'd say anyone listening, the earlier on you can do it, the smaller you are, the better, and then grow into it. Because when you've got to start analyzing, and I made a note of the 5 because I can never remember the 5, your governance, workers, community, environment, and customer, how you deal with all of those things on quite a minute detail, it's tough. Like, Seedlip's 5 years old, and it's a big job for us. Like, going through, especially on some of the operational and environmental elements of monitoring greenhouse gases across your supply chain, all of this stuff, it's detailed stuff that you need to spend a lot of time digging into. So it's not a walk in the park, but then having the ability at the end of the day to have that shorthand of the mark on your product that is that consumer facing third party certification. I don't think there's a better option out there. that can give that transparency to a consumer or employer or anyone else who's interested.
Yeah, it's really interesting the way that you guys are talking about it, because it is like, if we think about, just from an environmental point of view, obviously to your point, there's a lot of companies that are out there making various claims about things, and this is like the way to clearly differentiate yourself and what it is that you're doing, and then having a taking a also being forced to take a hard look at what you're doing as a brand and how you can kind of improve within that. So it's really exciting. And as you guys continue to move ahead in 2021, what else do you have sort of on the to-do list that's in that sort of same vein?
I mean, when we launched 5 years ago, maybe you could get a non-alcoholic beer, you could get a horrible fruity sweet mocktail, and a soda water. And thankfully now, there's over 125 products available in the non-alcoholic category globally. And that's amazing. There are menus, there are shelves, there are journalists that are writing about this. There are events, there are bars, there are, you name it. There is a culture and an ecosystem that has been created around this category, which we're very proud to have kind of played our part in and hopefully, inspired and led. And that means that for the last 5 years, we've been very, very single-mindedly focused on educating the trade and the consumer at the same time on what the hell a distilled non-alcoholic spirit is. What is this new category? Why do we need it? How's it made? What's in it? What do I do with it? Where do I get it? What do I call it? Etc. Incredibly educational focused. And that's true of any new category that comes along, that education is absolutely first port of call. And it's what often a lot of people don't stick to, and they get carried away with getting excited by other shiny bells and whistles. But we've been really, really clear that, in the US is Seedlip and ginger ale. We're a distilled non-alcoholic spirit. It's what to drink when you're not drinking. Thank you very much. And now as we've just celebrated our 5th birthday, we're looking at actually how can we, there is a category that started to form, a lot of other people in the market now also educating. That's great. A lot more understanding within consumers and also within the, the on-trade, the bartending world. So what's next? How can we actually, oh my God, we've created this category and we don't have to just talk about education the whole time. What are we going to talk about? Well, amazing. We get to actually be the brand that we've always wanted to be, and actually be a nature brand through and through, publicly, vocally, aesthetically, visually, and in our comms. So, next week we're launching our new platform, which is really, really exciting. We've got a set of commitments, nature resolutions that go along with that are very, very simple, straightforward commitments that we're making over the next 1 to 3 years. And that comes with a different aesthetic and a whole load of programming for the next 12 months that sees us really, really come out of our skin and celebrate and protect the natural world, and genuinely try to inspire as many people as possible to fall in love with nature, in the hope that, we might all be able to do our bit and a bit better in terms of looking after the planet.
Amazing. That's really exciting. Congratulations on making it to 5 years, and it'll be exciting to see what comes in the next 5 as you guys continue to evolve what you do as a brand. So thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us today, and good luck moving forward in 2021.
Thanks for having us.